life. And I share this with my guys all the time. I said, don't let your problem become our problem. I said, I know it can be catastrophic, but if you're letting your problem be our problem, then you bring us all down. We got to learn how to compartmentalize some of those problems so that we don't bring the group down. And yeah, some of the things that we go through are catastrophic. And I can step aside and say, we're going to help you here and there. But don't grab all of your problems and throw them into the gym. You can't throw them into the gym.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it.
Today we are joined by the head men's basketball coach at East Los Angeles College, John Mosley. Coach Mosley has been named one of the 50 most impactful coaches in JUCO men's basketball. As the head coach and alumnus, he returns to East Los Angeles College for his 12th season and has 241 wins during his tenure in Huskies Green. He's also led the program to 10 straight CCCAA state playoff appearances. Coach Mosley and his ELAC men's basketball program are featured in the 2019 and 2021 seasons of Netflix's critically acclaimed Emmy Award-winning sports docuseries Last Chance U. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast.
We're doing.
What's up, Coach?
Oh, what's going on?
Man, how are you?
Doing well, man. Just same deal. Just keeping it going, man. Trying to keep it going in the grind and the thick of it. So, yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, I just want to thank you so much for giving up your time and coming on and talking hoops with me. This is an honor for me.
Oh, well, to think much of me, man, that much of me, man. They just put me on TV, man. They made me look good. They put some music behind it, and they dressed it up, maybe look better than most people would think.
I'll tell you, the show is well done. And my son and I, he's a sophomore at the small private Christian school that I coach at, and we really enjoyed getting to watch it. It's well done. I had to, I guess, start off our talk with a question of pressure, because I think there's pressure in coaching, and I don't care what level you're at, you feel it. But, you know, the difference between you and me is, like, at Faith, there's 300 people that come watch our games. And then when I go into the locker room, no one else is in there but me. And so it's a very small group that gets to watch any successes or any failures that I make or our team makes. But you had millions watching it. And so, but you seem to, I don't know, I would imagine who you were on that show is who you are. And so how did you deal with the pressure that you must have felt, even on top of what normal coaches feel?
Well, the only pressure I really put on myself in that situation is to be authentic and try not to be fake. And so I think that was really the only pressure. I said, you know what, win or lose, it's reality. We made sure that I did as much as I could to make sure that we had success on the court. And it was no different than we do every single year. It was what I pour into the guys. And the pluses and minuses that happen are because of what it's basketball. That's just what happens. And so, I said doing it, I think, when you talk about faith, you talk about what's important now. And if it was in my 20s, man, I would have felt pressure in the sense that I don't want to look bad. I don't want this. I don't want that. But you know what? I got to the point where I don't need any of this. And when they came and asked me about this show, I was like, dude, I'm not doing that. Like, it's not important.
Yeah.
Find somebody else. And initially it was my pastor who said you should do it, and a good friend of mine who was also a believer. Everybody else said don't do it. They're thinking on the outer sense, but they thought it would be a good opportunity to just share the testimony in terms of what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish and what my core values are. And I just said, well, I'm gonna just go with it because I really didn't want to do it. I didn't need that the spotlight anymore. I was happy with just being at this little small community, well, not small community college, but I'm at the community college where in California nobody cares about, and I think that's what makes it why they targeted us. Nobody cares about our space, which is big to us, but nobody really cares. And so I just approached it the same. And in the first season of the show, I really approached it like I just ignored the cameras and was like, you know what? I don't think it's going to be a good show I don't know why you guys are following me. Like,
This is
I,
never going to air.
yeah, like my guys are not gonna have guns in the locker room. I'm not gonna allow that. I don't know if that's what you're looking for. My guys are not gonna go. I'm avoiding guys going to jail, and so I was thinking, and they said, no, Mosley, it's gonna be a mirror of you, and I'm like, well, I don't like what I see, so I don't know. And ultimately, because it was authentic, I think it resonated with a lot of people. And that was the most important thing, is just to be authentic and to not play up for the cameras. And so from that standpoint, that pressure. But the basketball side, trying to look like a good coach, trying to win games, I didn't put that pressure on myself. The main thing was to be authentic, and what's authentic is I really care about the young man and I want to see him do well. And I want that message to get to other coaches, like, let's care about them. So that's the pressure I put on myself, is to prove that we need to care a little bit more about these young men than about winning and losing. And it worked out. The first year it was like 29-1, best record. So I think God honored that because, the seeds were planted, and he allowed me to be a vessel and to plant those seeds. So I was allowed to be a vessel. And he said, because of that, I'll reward you and make you look better than you actually look.
Yeah, so many cool nuggets there. And I think, one is it did come across really authentic. And so I'm just thank you for that, because it was really for us, coach, like me at a small school, just reassuring to see somebody that isn't putting on a show for anybody. We're seeing you and your team at some of the rawest moments. But some of those situations that as coaches we're all in, but we rarely get to see. Like, I'll go to a practice once in a while and watch another but I don't get to see what other coaches, what they say after a loss, after a win, what it's like in the locker room, those tough conversations that you have with players when you're not just telling them all the good stuff that they want to hear. So again, thank you for being authentic in those moments, because it totally came across that way.
Yeah. Well, that's initially what we, kind of wanted to happen. And again, if a coach, or if me or you decided, hey, I want to do a documentary of what I'm doing, we would cut out all of that, and we would say, look how positive he is. Look how
That's right.
the great thing he said, and
He's hugging them all the time.
yeah, I didn't realize that some of the things that I said were important nuggets, and everybody picked up on it. And I was like, dude, I don't know how you guys are gonna find anything worth watching in this show. And then all of a sudden they pull all these things out that I say over and over again, and I really mean them and I believe them, and it's the core values. And those end up being, pretty polarizing. And they, of course, you surround it with the cinematography, and it was actually impactful. And like you said, it's reassuring that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, and it's reassuring too that you were just being faithful in that moment. You weren't looking for this. And I think sometimes as coaches, like I've been here 10 years now at Faith, 16 years overall, so a little similar. I haven't been doing it near as long as you, but being at one place for a long time, and you kind of sit around wondering, is this what God where he wants me to be? Or is there another door that he's going to open up? And at the end of the day, you just have to be faithful and trust in his plan. And I think if you were, this is my opinion, coach, if you were looking for fame, if you were looking to be on a show, I just don't think it would have come across the same way. And just how authentic you were in it. So just a great reminder for us as coaches to be faithful no matter what level you're at and where God has put you, and do your very, very best for those kids in that moment.
Yeah. And had no opportunity. I had no idea that it would, like, worldwide, people all over the world are saying, "Oh, it's great. You're a great coach." And I'm like, "Nah, come to one of my practices and see if I'm a great coach."
But that's the thing, though. We got to see that. We got to see you not just after a big win, and not just like everybody right now. When you and I are talking, March Madness is going, and Coach Tang, who I was able to be around for 1 year at Baylor, he just had a huge win, and we see him after hugging his player, talking on the news, but we don't get to see maybe a few months ago after a tough loss, or when one of the players decides not to really be involved or engaged anymore. We don't get to watch that, but with you, we did, and getting to watch you handle those situations, man, as a coach, it was just so enjoyable for me.
Yeah. Well, I had a lot of worries. I initially, after I decided to do it. And they asked me, then I said, dude, what did I just commit to? My life is over now. I said, because I had set up my life now. Okay, I'm a tenured professor at the college. Now my kids are doing great. They're all, 4.0 students, all three of them. Me and my wife's relationship is great. And I said, man, I just opened myself up for my perfect little life to be scrutinized. And so I was questioning that and questioning should I have committed to it. But I'm glad we opened up and we were allowed to be able to do that and be a blessing. And it was hard on the family as well. I'd be going all day and I'd be tired, 8 a.m. I'm mic'd up all the way till we're finished with practice. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let me take this mic off and get ready to go home. And then he'd come up to me, hey, is it possible we can hop in the car with you and then go to the house? And I called my wife, hey, they're coming tonight. She's like, no, I didn't want to do. And I said, remember, we talked about this commitment to really we just got to be all the way in and not to be fake, but to just make sure that we be who we are. Okay, I'm tired. I'm going to go home and I'm going to act tired and I'm going to relax and lounge on the couch. And my wife's going to continue to be sarcastic and my kids are going to be playful. And, we're not going to be fake and put on the front and have this nice meal on the table. Sometimes my buddy, he clowned my buddy's wife, or not my buddy's wife, but Rob Robinson, who was on the first show. His wife was looking at an interview I did, like at my dining room table, and she pointed out, she was like, "Ooh, I know LaShonda is gonna be mad because there's Domino's pizza boxes in the background." And I didn't even notice. I didn't care. We had Domino's pizza, but that's something that our wives are like, "Oh no, I want to look like I'm cooking every day," And it's like we had Domino's pizza in the background while I'm being interviewed. It's so it's interesting. And so those are the things in the moments that we were just like, man, whatever it is. My wife was really upset because both years or that they did the show, we have this nice big house, 20 or 15 miles away. Mm-hmm. And we're like renting it out at the time. And then, but we moved a little bit closer to LA and we're renting this small little house that's modest. And she's like, no, this house, I can't stand it. No, look, it looks like and I'm like, dude, just whatever God wants, let it be. Yeah. And for a lot of people, they were like, you know what, look at look at their family. They don't have much. And I mean, we've done okay in the last couple of years, not in my early, we were struggling. And so she's like embarrassed about this house. And I'm just like, dude, what can we do? Like, I'm not moving back to our house. We got a big 5-bedroom and all that. I'm like, I'm not moving back there. It's too far from the job. Let's stay where we're renting. And she was so upset at that. She's like, look at the carpet. Look at this. Look at that. So, to just be in the space that we're in, and it is what it is. And I think that resonated. And even in our church. So I grew up in the church. And it's been pressed on, for me and my family, like we just need to stay there and continue to be an example. Yeah, we're doing a lot of big things in our church. We got older members, but God called us to be there. And I think, showing, our humility to continue to serve at a church that's kind of old school, it resonated with people as well, at least to show that we're real. I mean, I had several churches I could have went to that were more predominant and mega churches. I could have sat in the church and, hey, Mosley, how are you doing? But you know what? That's where we're at. We're teaching Sunday school there with 10 kids, and that's it. Yeah. We sing in the choir. We lead in worship service. We're in front of about 40 people. It is what it is, And that day, it was interesting because the week prior they were supposed to come, and then we had to cancel. And so our church, everybody showed up. And then we said
they were ready on that Sunday, and then
and then everybody was like, "Well, we're not sure." It was the normal. So God knew what He was doing, man. It was like maybe 25 showed up that Sunday, but our pastor had announced, like, "Hey, Coach Deacon Mosley has got this crew following him. You guys, we want to show up." And it was maybe 50 to 75 there, bigger than normal. But then after everybody showed up, it was like, well, we had to cancel that day. And then the filmer said, okay, we could do it this Sunday. And then everybody was like, well, it is what it is. So our normal amount. So God knew what He was doing, man. It was interesting.
That's good. I do love hearing that little story about your home. I mean, watching it, maybe it's because we're guys, and my wife definitely would have been like yours of, hey, babe, I'm bringing the crew over. No, you're not. I haven't cleaned. Like I completely understand that, but I love just again, it was like as a coach getting to watch another coach grind. That word's used a lot, but just work hard and care about no matter what level you're at. Like the long day teaching, coaching, and then you go home with your family and you got film going. And that just brought a smile to my face because, like, listen, parents, players, this is real. Like this is what they don't just stop coaching when they leave the gym. And I just love those moments.
Yeah, yeah. Those are moments that everybody got a chance to see, and then you still have to be family.
Yeah.
So I'm doing film, and the family understands. I think a lot of people, our families understand, and our wives and our children, I think they understand the commitment. I think it's when you step outside of that and you try to go have some more extra me time, and me and the guys are going here, and everybody get out of the living room. I want to watch Monday Night Football. I don't do that. I just say, you know what, we're at home. They showed the part, and I was like, that is so us. And I can't believe they showed different strokes. Like my wife loves watching those old 80s and 90s shows. I really can't stand it. I don't watch new school action movies, action TV, CSI, all that.
Yeah.
I want to watch that, and I'm sitting here, and I'm like, well, I'm at home. I just this is their time. So I'll just sit here and put the laptop on my, and I'll sit there with them, and we'll watch whatever she wants to watch. They're watching different strokes,
That's awesome.
Yeah. But that's, I think, the interesting part. And they ask me, well, how do you keep it going? I think just giving them their time when I get home. And that's really how it is every day. I don't have unwinding time without the family. My unwinding time is looking at my kids, how they interact and pick on each other. And my unwinding time is hearing my wife little sarcastic jokes and not saying, you know what, I need to unwind. Everybody move. Give me some space before and I think that's what we do as men and in our jobs and our careers. And I realize that if we want to be healthy in our families, that, my unwind time is part of their time. And that's how I unwind. I enjoy them, and that helps me unwind.
I think what you just said rolls right into one of my favorite questions to ask coaches is, how do you balance family and coaching? And because I think it is an area where we fail a lot, but just based on what you said, you seem to do a really good job and have found a balance of not trying to keep things separate, but actually bringing them all together, right?
Yeah. Well, ultimately, regardless of what I do, and I tell everybody, hey, you don't have to believe what I believe, but ultimately my convictions come from my faith and believing that the family is, most important. And we need to honor God and our family. Our faith first. We need to honor God, and He comes first. But with that, we know He blessed us with a family. And I have to honor Him I have to be a good steward and honor Him through my family and there. And then after that, I have to honor Him in my career. And so everything I feel like has to get 100%. And explaining that to my family, and I think my family watches me and they say, man, look at him giving 100% into these young men. Look at him giving 100% into his coaching and in his career. But then when it's time for them, what's interesting is the example I said also for my players. Man, look at Coach Mosley after the game giving 100% to his wife and his kids, and he recognizes them. Look at Coach Mosley, giving 100% to his family when it's family time. And those are examples, God calls it, He called the family to be an example of the church, or marriage to be an example of the church, and our marriage to Him, and being an example of the church and how the church should be. And so having that full commitment. But when I come home, or they understand the commitment, they understand the ministry, they understand. But what they don't understand is after a 14-hour day, which my wife understands, it's a 14-hour day. If I decide, you know what, I need some me time after the 14-hour day, let me go spend 2.5 hours at the bar and then come home. where I gotta recover from the bar and not give her the time that she needs. I think the biggest example, I'll share this, and not to offend any coach, but there was a time when all of the basketball recruitment came out of Las Vegas, where everything, all the AAU tournaments were in Las Vegas. And I remember the early part of me being a Division I coach. I was a recruiting coordinator, and what I would do is I would align everything that we needed to do. The day starts from 9 a.m. and it ends at 10 a.m. And it's very hard to even talk to my wife or family on the phone because, we're looking at games and in loud gyms, and you're communicating with coaches, and it's just fast paced, you from one gym to the other. But I think the difference is when I came back and when I landed 10 o'clock, my wife understood. Now think about it, you're in Vegas, and they got all these slogans, Sin City, and they got all these slogans in Vegas. But there was never a concern. And my wife knew. She's like, I don't even want to call him during the day because she's like, it's going to irritate me because it's going to be loud. And I want to. But you know what? When 10:30 ended, even if I didn't call her, she called me and I picked up.
Mm.
And I think without offending any coaches, I would say that's how it works for me. And in most cases, it's not that you do anything wrong, but it's like, well, I still have to go out.
What's the accountability? Yeah.
I have to network. I have to do this. I have to do that. With me, I made sure that time was carved out, that she knew the game's ended, and that she knew she can call me. What are you doing? I'm sitting here on the bed and da 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 da, whatever, And if I missed one day where I did go and network, she wasn't concerned or she didn't get bitter or offensive. It's not that any coach is doing anything wrong, but it's like, dude, you can't go 4 days in a row without calling your wife and expect her to understand. And say, you understand? I got a network after. Well, shoot, like, you're still married. I know that your job, and I understand the commitment. And so I think that's the extreme, but that's one of the examples of how we try to balance it. And I realized, like, once I'm finished, then I have to have time for family. And I think they understand that. I think my wife understands the commitment. She loves the fact that I pour into them to other people's kids, and that I pour into my job, and that we're winning. Like she's please win, because I don't want you to come home. She said I couldn't, and I've gotten better with coming home with losses. But in my early days, I was nasty when I came home with losses. So, but I think that's how it's done, and I think it's her time. And then if on the way home she says, I need you to go grab some milk, and one of the hardest things to find was heavy whipping cream, and I'm just irritated. Like, I just had a long day, and you tell me to go look for heavy whipping cream. I don't know what the heck that is. Like, and you want me to go pick up something. I want to just come home, but you got to do it. And you know what? I think it's on purpose. Like, does he love me? Go pick up some heavy whipping cream.
It's a test. It's a test for sure, Coach.
Go pick up the organic head of lettuce, and next to it is the something. And I'm like, let me do it, because that's just testing to see if I'm still committed to the family. And those are the sacrifices you make for family. And my daughter, just yesterday, I literally wanted to sit on the couch and digress and just take a sigh of relief. And she just came up and she leaned on the couch and said, Daddy, guess what? Dad, and whatever she said was pointless. But I had to stop and say, I was in a hoodie, and I had my hoodie on, and I was sitting on the couch like this, and I literally had to go like this, turn and look. I put my phone down, and I really looked at her, and I saw her face, and it lit up because I was looking at her in the face. And I was like, why is watching Sports Center more important, or the end of, it was a great game, UCLA, and why is that more important than what my daughter is saying? And I got to remind myself, man, my daughter is 16. In 2 years, I'm a loser. I want her to know that she can always talk to me. So that's more important to me, because, I want her to still know that she can come talk to me, and I won't ignore her when she turns 23 and she has real life issues.
Man, great reminders. I mean, I'm thinking as a high school coach, you teach all day, you usually stay up here on a game night. Your wife comes or family comes, 9:30 game's over. And then, you stay up and watch film till 11:30 or 12. And when by the time you go home, everybody's asleep. How important would it be to call your wife and just make sure she got home okay, and have that conversation with her That's a huge reminder. And then the example that you talked about setting for your players, one of my favorite coaches, Manawata with PGC, says more is caught than taught. And so you can say all the right things, but they're watching everything that you do. So, man, coach, not that you need my encouragement, but I think you're doing a great job of modeling that for your players. And thank you for that reminder for us as coaches to keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've realized long ago that, it's not as important anymore. What's most important is, like you said, the main thing, and that's the family. And if I can't take care of my home, then how am I going to take care of someone else? And we see pastors even with pastors with great intentions, man, they get in trouble with that because you're supposed to understand. I have to go pray for these families. The wife and children are saying, well, what about us? And I think we've gotten better, but in the past, I can remember when I was growing up, we used to talk about PK kids. The preacher's kids was always the worst kids. And I think, the pastor's kids was, crying out for attention.
Yeah.
While their dads were, saving other lives and saving or ministering to others. And the kids are crying out for attention. So I don't want to be that dad as well, where all these young men and people are getting prayed for and their lives are changing. And my children are like, well, what about us?
Yeah, you'll like this. One coaching buddy of mine here in Dallas has a sign when he goes into his garage. There's a sign above the door, and it says, "Don't fail at the job that only you can do." I mean, that's it right there, right? Like we can't fail. We can't fail at home. We can't fail our families. And my son's 16, about to turn 17. So like what you're talking about with your daughter, we only have that little bit of time left.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
Culture's a buzzword that another coach down here said that 20, 30 years ago, they never used that word culture. It's kind of new, but we all have one. And getting to watch yours, you have these players come from different areas of the country, different backgrounds. They have different basketball experiences. Some are good. They've kind of fallen, and now and it's interesting to see that. So you have all these different types of personalities. How does the culture drive the performance of your team?
Yeah, well, the first thing initially, and now because of the success we had, not because of the show, but even before we had decent success, I tell them when they walk through the door, you're not failing on my watch. And so I ingrained that in them. You're not failing on my watch. And so initially letting them know that I really care about their success. And in order for you to have the individual success, we got to change those habits and change how you respond. And you have to win. You have to win. Because that winning on your resume, having the winning habits, having those attributes on learning how to win and come together and be disciplined so that you can have success, that's how you get hired. That's how you attract.
Yeah.
I like the statistic. I always use the example of, when USC had the Reggie Bush and Pete Carroll era, how the endowment, I think it's still maybe the largest endowment that the school has ever received in the history of. It's like $2 billion that they raised during that time, that window, because of winning. Winning attracts. And so I don't care what anybody says. You could say winning doesn't matter as long as you do your best. No, winning does matter.
They obviously haven't lost before.
Right. You want to win because it attracts, but you want to win and use it for use that winning resource for the right reason. So I think that's what's important. And there's a lot of building things you can do in the process of winning. I think that's what people mean. During the process of winning is really more important than that one win. True. But when you get the one win and it's on paper and it's stamped, unfortunately, our society, that's all they see. They don't see the process. The process is important for the players to see how to do it. That's the most important thing. But at the end of the day, you want to go in and you want to try to get that stamp of approval by saying I won, because now society sees you as a winner and you get more resources and you're more attractive. And when you get that feeling of being more attractive to society and more valued in society, that's important. Unfortunately, that's where we're at in our society.
Yeah.
Is they want to see you win. They want to see numbers in corporate America. And I've talked to many corporate American groups. They want to see numbers. It's great that you're a great guy and you're a hard worker, but if the numbers don't prove it, if you in farm sales, and for a year I was out of basketball and I did headhunting. It was called I was career coaching, and I worked with a group where I would go find student athletes and help them with Fortune 500 companies get jobs. And I'm like, man, they want to see your entry level. Tell them that I performed on a high level and I'll do that for you here. They don't want to hear that you're a great guy and you're a hard worker. They want to know, can you perform and have you done numbers? So the guys that were easier to get in the door were the guys who were all conference, who won championships, who have shown, I had a young lady who hit and I'll just throw it out there. She had a game winning run in one of those years in the early 2000s of UCLA's, softball championship. And she the walk-off home run. And right there, and athletes were taught to be humble. And she mentions that in this, you're a performer. You're a performer. You won. And so, I think winning is important. But yeah, the process in which it takes is what we're saying. So winning, you're going to win. You're going to be successful on my watch. You have no choice. Now, when I say that, I'm like, shoot, I don't know how to do this. But
yeah, because once you say it, now you actually got to make it happen. And it's interesting to watch you. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's interesting to watch you through that process too, because you do come out and you set that tone, which I think that's healthy. To think that, like, we as believers, we shouldn't be about winning. I think it's synonymous with excellence. We're supposed to be excellent in everything that we do, and you do that with your coaching. You do that with your family. But man, when you start with that tone, and then as seasons go, sometimes you have a little bit of losing here and there. No matter what your resume, you start to see players, and it's different with you because these players have interviews about what they feel. Like, my players just go home. They don't have to get on a camera and say, well, how does it feel? I don't really know what we're doing right now. And that's what a different experience. When they do and have a few maybe losses early on, how do you keep them focused and moving forward?
You know what? I just, in some cases, you got to almost ignore the negative and just keep going, because they can get so caught up into it. And myself, I can get so emotionally caught up into it. But I think experience helps as well. That's something, for younger coaches, that's why I think it's important to be with coaches. I was with a coach, Bill Oatsey, and he actually started with Athletes in Action the early years when Athletes in Action had the biggest success, and they represented the United States in the World Games. He went on he passed, but in the 60s and 70s, he was my mentor. And so I was able to be under that. And his mentor was John Wooden. And John Wooden color commentated for that Athletes in Action group. And so to get good mentors where you can see how they handle success and failures, and John Wooden said it to me personally. He says it in a lot of his commentaries and a lot of his videos, but I got a chance, my mentor used to go to breakfast with him once or twice a month. I would get like once, maybe a year, for about 3 years.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah. And what he told me is, he said, for every high, there is a low. I asked him about recruiting. That's another conversation. But he said, for every high, there's a low. He said, you just got to stay, there's going to be ebb and flow in basketball, and don't get too high, don't get too low. And I like what Jerry West says as well. He says, you're not as great as a coach or as great as everybody thinks you are, and you're not as bad as everybody thinks you are. So just, you stay right there and stay even keeled. And so I take that approach with winning and losing, and with failures and success. It wasn't as bad and it wasn't as good. The win wasn't as good. We got to get better, and let's just keep it pushing. And so I watched my mentor, how he handles success and failures, and you go in there and watch film and you get better, and you have a level of expectation, and you make the student athlete feel like, oh, the worst thing could happen is we lose. And then when we do lose, you show them that's not the worst thing that can happen. Here's what we got to do. Here's what we can do to get better. And we pursue that. And they're surprised, like, wow, I think coach was going to slit his wrist because we lost. Because I wanted to seem that important that
Yeah,
we
yeah.
win. But then when we lose, because, I mean, everybody will tell you. I mean, that Michael Jordan commercial and all these commercials and Kobe, his commentary, everybody will say they failed more than they won. You know, but when they won or had success on the big stage, it looks like they always have it, and it's like no, you learn a lot in losing and in failures and in struggles. There's a lot of CEOs, a lot of billionaires, those with startup companies. They'll tell you about all their failures, and they got many more failures than they have successes. From Mark Cubans to Jeff Bezos and just all of those guys, Elon Musk, they have those stories where they fail. And but just to be able to say, okay, let's get back to work and let's grind, and let's work just as hard. And just as we brush off winning as let's enjoy it, but then move on, let's soak and understand that doesn't feel good, and let's move on and let's get better. And life is going to be that way. It's painful. I shared that in that last scene of the first season. Like, dude, just going to be a lot of hurt
Yeah.
in life. And so this hurts, and we just got to move forward.
I've been able to watch you and in your program, but I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing that you feel like makes ELAC different, your program different?
Well, I try to lead with faith and obedience, man. And I think that's where it starts with me. If I'm not walking through the door obedient and faithful and intentional about, number one, being, doing my best and, making sure I care for them and, having relationships with them, understand what's going on in their lives. I think that's the most important thing is just, being intentional, man. And I think when it starts there and being obedient with what, God's purpose is for this team or for this program is, then that's where it starts. And if it starts up top with my obedience and serving, then it just trickles down through my assistant coaches, trickles down through the players, and they sense that and they gravitate towards it, and then it's easier for me to get them to respond to what I want them to do.
I think a lot of coaches struggle with being consistent. Well, if I'm feeling good or we just won, hey, I'm smiling and having a great time, or if we just lost and I know I'm down. And as a player, I mean, I know you and I both played, and it's getting farther and farther back, so it's harder to remember really what it felt like. But it was difficult to go into a practice not knowing what coach is showing up, like who's he going to be today. But again, getting to watch your program in such a different way for 2 years now, 2 seasons, I've just been impressed with how consistent you are with your attitude, your effort, your fire. It's not like some days you're mellow, some days you're just always up. What does it take? How do you get to that point where, from an outsider's view, if you have a bad day, you do a really good job of not showing it in front of your players?
Yeah, and as leaders, man, we know, and as a leader, even as a leader, as a husband, as a teacher, instructor, man, sometimes there's feelings, there's emotions, but just realizing me as a leader, I can't let them down because I know and we take that on, and that's a part of what wears you out. Part of what wears you out is building up this energy and this enthusiasm, even when I'm having a down day, even when I got some bad news. Or, I remember I had the car accident and nobody even knew. I come the next day and go to practice and nobody even knew. Because I don't want what's going on in my life. And I share this with my guys all the time. I said, don't let your problem become our problem. I said, I know it could be catastrophic. I know it could be a death. I know all of that. But if you're letting your problem be our problem, then you bring us all down. We got to learn how to compartmentalize some of those problems so that we don't bring the group down. And yeah, some of the things that we go through are catastrophic. And I can step aside and say, we're going to help you here and there. But don't grab all of your problems and throw them into the gym. You can't throw them into the gym. And you think about it. 5 guys walk into the gym every day with an issue. And maybe 3 of them are able to compartmentalize and say, you know what, I'm going to just get through the day. And the other 2's got attitudes. And I know, okay, what's wrong with you today? Like, I know you didn't eat. I know, well, I didn't eat today. And that's selfish, bro. You're not eating because you weren't responsible enough to bring the fact that you didn't eat. That's so selfish. And trying to make them understand that that's the way I think And like, I can't come in with no energy because I didn't eat because I was in a meeting. Okay, fine. I still got to come with energy, although I'm tired. I could be sick. The guys never knew when I was sick this year, you know?
Mm.
They didn't know. Man, I said, okay, whatever I got to do. I got ibuprofen. I got this. Let me clear my sinuses so that I'm ready to go. And I try my best to not make any of my issues their issues so that they don't use as an excuse for not, why they're not performing. And so I try to relay the same message on those guys. And they look at me like, man, this dude is relentless. And what they really don't know is I'm not. I
Yeah.
just I just continue to do it. And, of course, our strength comes from my source is from the Lord. And I literally go every single day. I walk in the gym, practice starts, let's say it starts at 2 o'clock. I'm in there a couple minutes before. I'm watching to see who's in there, see who's late. And I may have sweats on like this. And then as I see, and I say, okay, 4 lines, which means everybody gets in lines and we start stretching. We start doing a dynamic stretch. Once they start doing a dynamic stretch, it takes between 8 and 10 minutes, right? As they're stretching, I walk out, I go to the locker room, I change clothes, I put on my shorts, tie up my gym shoes that I'm gonna run around in and the shirt, and I pray. And I ask God for strength. And literally when I'm in there, and I hope none of my players see this, I'm like this.
Mm.
Lord, I need strength. I'm tired. I just can't. I don't feel like doing it today. I just don't. And then literally, I walk out, and then as soon as I hit the door, I'm walking in the gym, and you got to have this energy. And then the players look, and they're like, "Oh shoot," because they're feeling. I feel like they feel.
Yeah.
We feel the same way. We feel the same way because I look at them walk in the gym, and some of them, and then some days, they look fresh and
Well, they're
whatever.
having a good day. Yeah. Yeah.
They're having a good day, and you can see half and half. But I notice, and I walk in there, and I look at 4 or 5 of them that look like they're gonna have a bad day, and I feel the same way, bro. But I can't let you know that it's gonna be that way.
Yeah.
And now it's literally like putting on the front, and it's really all the guys. Like, there's some guys that don't feel like doing it, but they do it, and they fight to get it right and fight to go hard every single day. And that's the character that it takes to be successful. Like some days you're not going to feel like doing it and you do it. And those are the habits that we're trying to build. It's like, man, if you don't feel like doing it, I know you don't. There's no way you feel like coming in here 6 days a week and listening to me. But if you can develop the habit to jump on it and say, I'm going to fight through it every single day and do it without any fight back, then you're going to be successful. There's no way you won't be because that's life.
Yeah.
That's life. Things you're not going to want to deal with. And if you can fight and grit your teeth and say, I'm going to do it, I'm going to have the right response to not feeling like doing it or whatever, then that's where success happens for us. And we know that that's the thing that we have to do, the habits we have to have. And that's what I'm trying to pour into these young men when we talk about life skills.
Yeah, the idea of we actually have a choice over how we act, how we feel is not real. That idea of I mean, obviously there are some situations that are even beyond just, hey, be tougher, get past it. But I love that idea of we all are going through some things, but we have to make the choice not to bring it into, like you said, into the team, into the five.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here.
You have some guys that have sometimes played at a high level already, and for whatever it is, injury, attitude, grades, they find themselves in a different place. And so you can see, Coach, the confidence of these guys. They may try to act like they're confident or show, but you can see where really their level of confidence is. What do you do, or how do you help build up their confidence in your players?
Well, I try to explain to them that we're all I've been in the same situation. So initially I want to make sure that they don't think too much of themselves before they get what they need to get to move forward, and realize that, what, I've seen better, and in order for you to be better, you have to work hard and do what you need to do. But then reassuring them that if they are consistent with their work, then almost no matter what you do, uh, you're pushed into doing great things. Like, and sometimes they say us as even college coaches, high school coaches, all of us coaches, we do. We have to have this box, and we have to keep them in a level of discipline so that we can have team success. When you get to the NBA, it's different. Everything's designed to be an individual sport.
Hmm.
But we share with them that if we can all come to this, there's no way, and there's not been many guys that have come in that if they've met the expectations that they won't be successful. And so constantly reminding them, and then after they do it, we recognize, like, I told you did it the right way and you're having success. And that's the only way, is to go day by day and step by step and getting it done. And so it's just a constant reminder. And then when they see it, to show the success and recognize the success, even the small successes of doing a drill the right way over and over again. It's just a constant reminder, man. And really building a relationship with them on a personal level as well.
Yeah.
So that I can spend time and sit them down and they'll really look me in the eye. Once I'm living out those burdens with them, I'm sharing some of the things that they're going through in life and living out those burdens, they'll open up and they'll listen, and I'll be able to share as well. Like, I'm fine with you. You're defining success the wrong way. A lot of guys, they lose confidence or whatever because they define success the wrong way. Well, did they get any accolades? No. Did they score points? No. To really help them understand that success is not defined by, what looks pretty. Success is defined by you coming out each and every day and you performing to the best of your ability and you making an impact in whatever you're involved in. And so just being able to change that narrative, man, that of what success is. And then they'll be confident, like, man, I played well. I got some offensive rebounds that we need to win games.
Yeah.
I played well. And so I'm constantly pushing that narrative, man, throughout the day. Like, you done well, because you forget the narrative that you didn't score 20, man. The narrative is you done well. You're in great shape. And the guy that you were guarding was really uncomfortable and his eyes were this big because he felt your presence.
Yeah.
That's success. When you closed out and the guy was rushed and sped up, that's success. It's not just the points. And so just redefining what success is, and then they become confident in other things, because everybody's not going to be the 20-point scorer. But to be confident in the fact that, yeah, I'm the lockdown defender. Like, yeah, Coach Mosley recognized that for whatever reason, this guy continues to get rebounds and he don't jump a lick off the ground. He's our best rebounder, and we got all these great athletes, but this guy gets all the rebounds, and he's like, wow, yeah, I am the best rebounder. And then confidence in other things instead of, we got this narrative that this guy does this. We had a guy, I remember I coached when I was at the Masters College. He was not the leading scorer, but he was our leading assist man, and he was the number one rebounder in the country. That was over NCAA Division I. He averaged 16.1 rebounds a game, and he averaged 6 assists a game, but his shooting percentage was awful. He couldn't shoot, layups, everything. But he was just this buff kid, undersized, 6'7" kid from the Bahamas who could guard anybody. He led us in steals, assists, and rebounding. And he was a 6'6" buff Bahamas kid. And he would go get every rebound, offense, defense, put it back, rebound, put it back. And an assist, he was a great pay-up passer out of the post off cutters. And that team couldn't shoot, and we made it to the Elite Eight. It couldn't shoot, but he was such a great passer that we would hit cutters, and that was a team that just cut to death. And so, he had value, and it was success. But he didn't have points, and his shooting percentage was low. But he led in steals because everybody tried to post him up. He'd get around the post and get a steal. So just helping them see their value would, creates confidence.
I think that's a great nugget that you said, and one that's easy for coaches to overlook is each one, guys 1 through 12, are all bringing something, and we need to have our eyes open. And Gain Baker says, recognize and compliment the try. Like, they're trying to do the right thing sometimes. And because if you only compliment the dude, like you said, that averages 20, well, you've got 11 others that don't feel like you value them in any way. Coach, I know we only have a few minutes left. Do you have time for a quick speed round, short questions that kind of out there that we'll get to know you a little bit better?
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Okay. Easy stuff. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh, uh, that's so sad because I was eating it last night, but don't tell anybody. Uh, um, Pralines and cream.
Oh, all right. Greatest shooter of all time?
I played with him. He played with the Lakers. He won a championship with Kobe and Shaq. Greatest shooter of all time. I'm gonna say Mike Penberthy. I'm gonna say Mike Penberthy. I saw him shoot some amazing. Now, if you talk about NBA, I'll have to go with Steph Curry. But Mike Penberthy played in the NBA. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen what he did. Greatest shooter. He was the number one shooter in the world at one point over in Europe. And it's a lot of things that people don't know about. He just finished up. He was with the last step with the Lakers, but I think he's with Denver right now. But yeah, Mike Penberthy. I'm gonna say that. It was my college teammate.
That's a good one. Best basketball movie of all time?
Oh, Last Chance U. No, Last Chance U, baby. I'm gonna rock with that.
Let's
I'm
go.
gonna say Last Chance U. You know?
That's so true. Texting or talking?
Talking. I just first of all, I'm not a fast texter with my fingers, and I can't articulate, and I don't believe it gives the authentic what the intentions or the context of the conversation.
For high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
Oh, shot clock. I can't deal with the four corners.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hopefully, people in Texas listen to this episode and we get that done. Favorite holiday?
Man, it's just all the faith holiday. I just have to say Christmas and Easter, the day when Christ was born, and the day Christ died for my sins.
Love that. Okay, you're up 3. You're on defense. 7 seconds or less. Do you foul or do you not foul?
Depends on the team. Depends on the team.
Yeah.
Depends on the team. What I think of the team, it would depend, and I would probably go into the game before that knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go into the game and knowing that, but it would depend on the team. I'm not going to say I'll do it every time or won't do it. So it's kind of 50-50.
That's a good answer. A couple more, Coach. What book would you give somebody?
It was a book that actually John Wooden gave to my mentor. My mentor gave to me, and it was I believe it was Servant Leader by Hunter. And I read that like 3 times, and it just talked about servant leadership. By serving, you can lead others. By serving, they see your servant. And Christ showed us that as well. Serving. So I would say that book by Hunter. It's about his first name, but last name is Hunter. Servant Leader.
Love that. In basketball, who's the GOAT?
As the player, I'm the Michael Jordan, man. I'm a rock with Jordan, baby.
Let's go.
Yep, I have to rock with Jordan. Magic was my favorite player, but because I grew up in LA and I was a pass first. I averaged 11 assists, so that's my claim to fame in junior college. 11 assists, which is unheard of now. But the GOAT is Michael Jordan. Favorite player, Magic Johnson. GOAT, Michael Jordan.
All right, last one, Coach. How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
I would say 1, and I make sure I limit it to 1.
Is it like this, or is it?
Oh, I got it right here, man. I got it.
There you go. All right.
Medium cup, and if I'm feeling a little bit down, I have a small little. I do the V8, and it's a little bit more natural energy drink.
Yeah.
If by noontime I'm done, but I have 1 cup of coffee, and then that's it. But I have a pet peeve, and I tell all my assistants that start. My pet peeve is do not walk into my gym with a cup of coffee. That literally irritates me. To walk in the gym like this. All right, guys, let's go.
Wow.
Let's run this, run that. So here's what irritates me about that. It to me, it shows a lack of readiness, and like coach needs coffee to get going. I don't want him to think I'm crazy already. Like I just got this natural enthusiasm, this energy that goes. But a lot of times they don't know I just jugged something down before I came in the gym. But I don't want to give that off, that there's a readiness, there's a self willingness to have, that I don't have to go like this and hold a cup. And I've been with coaches that do that, or start practice like this and then sit the cup down. And so I hope I don't offend any coaches, but
I'm just thinking of about half the mornings that I've done that throughout the year. So
yeah. So that's a pet peeve. I got 2 gym pet peeves.
Can you give them? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, one is coffee or anybody bringing anything, any enhancement. I want it to be just like, I really want to do this for myself. I'm enthused. I'm ready to go. Any type of enhancement. Number two is I can't stand when players walk and they walk in on the court with slippers and shoot. I can't stand that. I'm like, what? That shows me that you don't care about that rep right there. And when my guys, in between games, so we have double headers with our girls.
Yeah.
They'll go in halftime and try to shoot. I say, if you walk on that court with slippers, do not go and shoot halftime. Do not do any of that. You put on shoes and you walk on the court. We go to a tournament, and then right before you play, you get that halftime. And I can't stand, because it's casual, it's flip-flops, and it's just, I can't stand flip-flops.
Respect the game.
Respect, when you walk on those lines, I don't even want you to form shoot. Don't even go on the side basket and form shoot. Do not touch a ball unless you have shoes on. They don't have to be tied up. Just put some grip on, because there's no balance and grip you can get with slippers. And I'm sorry, but those are my two pet peeves.
Coach, this has already been such an amazing conversation and time. I've learned a ton, but that might have been some of my favorite stuff right there. And so I do the speed round at all my talks, and I think I'm going to add that one. What's your basketball pet peeve?
What's your pet
That's
peeve?
Great, man.
Yeah, there's two things that I'm always like, don't walk in here with slippers. And coaches, and I see the coaches, and I wait a couple days, and I'm like, hey, coach, when they start with me, I say, one of my new coaches, man, he's from the high school, and he's like, my bad, coach. He said, dude, I used to coach, because he was a former high school head coach. He used to coach in games with a cup of coffee. And he's like, dude, I'm so sorry, coach. And I'm like, nah, that's just my logic. My logic may be screwed up, but that'll just bother me, so don't do it. And he's like, all right. I said, you can drink it, maybe sit it outside somewhere and hide it, but don't bring it in here. It would piss me off as well as if it's sitting on the table and then the ball hits.
Oh, yeah.
So that's it.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Ballogy. Manage and measure your players' skill development and increase accountability year-round utilizing the Ballogy app. Boost inter-squad competition with drills backed by the National High School Basketball Coaches Association, including a 40-shot Ballogy skills assessment. Please visit ballogy.com/teams for information on how you can provide this resource for your team.
Coach, thank you so much for your time. This has been so enjoyable, getting to learn a little bit more about you as a coach, even than, golly, what I've already watched for 2 years now, but blown away that you would even respond. Like, I'm nobody. I'm a small coach in Texas, and that you would respond and do this, man. Just so honored and humbled by it.
No, absolutely, man. Hey, you got me. And I just respond to what's in front of me. Sometimes I miss emails and all that stuff, and I'm more about this than I am. There's a lot of big opportunities that's come, and I just pass by. I said, you know what, it would take me out of my element, and I'm not afraid of any big opportunities, but I don't think God's calling me. So I'm more willing to do this in the small speaking opportunities instead of going on this grand, I've been offered to speak on this grand tour, and I'm like, you know what? I don't care how much money it offers. I'm not doing that. So, yeah.
Coach, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.